Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday and happy So What Day. I'm a little winded because I had to start decorating for the holidays for today. I know, it's crazy. November 7th, am I right? I'll probably go back into fall and Thanksgiving mode. But for today's episode of So What, we are going to be talking about our new free pattern up at sulky.com, which is our Advent stocking pattern. So I'm going to be talking about that. It looks a little wonky behind me. I have a very small space for this very long garland. But there's lots of different projects that you can make using this pattern. So we'll talk about that as well. I'll go through all the how-tos with you. It comes together rather simply. So you can make 25 stockings or 12 stockings or a few stockings for a dinner party or for some little ornaments for some special people in your life. So make sure that you are commenting, putting your questions in the live chat, giving me those thumbs up throughout the episode today, because as long as you're engaging with the post and somehow, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you are automatically eligible to win today's gift from Sulky. So every week on So What, we have a little gift that we give away to one lucky viewer who is doing all of those things and engaging with me here today. And today's special gift is a brand new product at sulky.com. It is an Organ Needles Essentials Assortment Pack. So you'll save a bit of money by grabbing up this pack of needles rather than grabbing up individual needle packs as you need them. So these are the needles that are top sellers at sulky.com. And they are really essentials, as they are named, for a number of different thread weights and types and techniques. So you will find our size 8012 microtex needles, size 9014 top stitch needles, an assortment pack of universal needles, which includes a variety of sizes of needles to accommodate a variety of thread weights. You'll also find an assortment of quilting needles and an assortment of embroidery needles. So, as I mentioned, instead of having to grab up a bunch of different needles as you need them for projects, you can grab up this assortment pack and save a bit of money. So this is going to be our freebie today for one lucky viewer. Make sure you are giving me those thumbs up, commenting, and you also need to like our Facebook page if you're watching from there, or subscribe to our YouTube channel in order to be eligible for the giftie. All right. And yes, somebody asked if Canadians are eligible. Everyone is eligible that does those things, regardless of where you're from, because it is a gift, right? It's not a raffle or anything like that. So don't worry about it. Just make sure you're saying hello. And again, put your questions in there so that I can address them as we move forward today. So another great thing about today is it is our webcast day. That's right. It is finally time where we will be going live with our Christmas gift tags free webcast over at sewingonline.sulky.com. And I have some updates about the webcast today. Let's see, what's our first update? First of all, as I said, we will be going live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time over at sewingonline.sulky.com. You do need to register for the event in order to view it. So all you need to do is head on over there, sign up for the webcast, and then join us at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and you will be eligible for our door prizes throughout the event. You can live chat with me, the instructor, throughout the webcast, and you will also have access to special deals that will be on sale during the webcast. Let's see. You will also get a free embroidery design just by registering for the event. So there are a lot of perks for joining us over at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, if you have a prior engagement and can't join us at 2 p.m., be sure to register anyway, because as long as you're registered for the event, you can watch it in its entirety on demand at any time. So if you've got free time tonight or even next week or next year, you can review all the information and watch the webcast, and you'll be able to fast forward and rewind and pause certain parts. If you want to work your way through the project while you're watching, that's a great way to do it as well, because it's not a formal sew-along. It's more of an overview of the project with lots of tips, techniques, and that live chat function. All right. So lots of you saying I am registered. Linda's asking, how long is the webcast? Great question. So this webcast is meant to be 60 minutes long, so about an hour. And I will admit that when I am the instructor, I tend to go a little bit longer than that. I try to contain myself, but there's just so much information to pass on to you. So it really depends on how many questions we're getting and things like that. But I try to keep it around an hour because I know your time is very precious and we want to get to the meat of things today. So I'll try my best to keep it at that hour long. Thank you, Betsy. She says, I always learn so much on these webcasts. All right, perfect. And as I mentioned, if you need to, duck out early, don't worry, because again, you can come in when your schedule allows and finish anything that you didn't get to see during the webcast. And you don't have to be present to win the door prizes for the webcast either. So as long as you're registered, when we do our free webcasts, you don't need to, now I'm questioning myself. I don't think you need to be present to win those door prizes. I think you just need to be registered. So sometimes I get confused because there's just so many things to say and so many offerings that we have here at Sulky. Okay, so let me see. Another update I have about today's webcast is many of you have purchased the webcast kit, which is so great because it's offered at an amazing deal. I just have to say that the kit for the webcast, here are the beautiful gift tags that we're going to be going over today. This is one of them. See how they're done in the hoop of your embroidery machine on this beautiful cork fabric. We have a large size gift tag and we have a small size gift tag. So lots of different options. And again, as for our Advent calendar stockings or our Advent stockings, there are lots of different ways you can use these, display them, give them as gifts. They don't just have to be a traditional gift tag on a present. So we'll be going over that this afternoon as well. Yes, Kathy says they're bigger than I thought. Yes. The big size, this large size, fits a gift card. So it can do double duty for gifting. The small size also has a pocket, but it's really just going to fit, a little note or a little bit of cash, that type of thing. So it's much smaller. As you can see, a gift card is not going to fit in that small size. So that's why we have one of the reasons we have two sizes, but also they're just so beautiful. You want to display all that thread work. But at any rate, so many of you have purchased the kit, and I wanted to mention that it's such a great deal because we have a machine embroidery palette at sulky.com that contains all the Sulky thread and the designs that you need, all the designs in two sizes, all formats, plus all the thread that you need. That's what we mean by palette. I have so much going on today that my mind is working faster than my mouth. Okay, I'll get it together here. At any rate, the palette is $47.99. Okay? The kit for this webcast is on sale for $55.99. So, why not grab up the kit and get the cork fabric? the cute little elastic that is perfect for these gift tags, and the needles that you need, the stabilizers that you need. I mean, it's just an amazing deal. And this deal is only good until midnight tonight. So an update on the kit is, many of you know we sold out of the gold flecked cork fabric pretty early on when we were promoting this webcast. That's what I did these samples on, is this gold flecked cork fabric. So beautiful. So the cork fabric was out of stock. I mean, aren't we so sick of hearing that? So we decided to kit up some silver flecked cork fabric, and it comes with silver elastic to tie it all together. So here are the versions I did with the silver elastic and the silver cork fabric. I just love it so much. So now we have this kit available back in stock. The gold is still out of stock. There's no telling when that gold flecked cork fabric is going to come in. And we know you're going to want to get a head start on making these for your holiday gifting. So we've got the silver cork fabric, the silver elastic, and everything else that you need in the kit to create your beautiful gift tags. And if you already purchased up a gold version, you're probably going to want the silver version as well. Just saying. I mean, so cool. All right. I also wanted to mention, I was going to save this for today's webcast, but you know, here at So What, I can never keep a secret. I also decided to experiment and make one of the gift tags using sulky felty, which is what we used for our Advent stockings hanging behind me as well. And here's the big reveal. Are you ready? Here is what our gift tag looks like on sulky felty. It just pops off the surface. The design looks so cool. I did it on some black felty, as you can see. Still has that pocket. The felty has this great hand to it. It's not super stiff craft felt. It's still nice and it looks luxurious. I mean, it looks like expensive wool felt, but it is our sulky felty, which is 100% polyester. It is manufactured to accept all this dense thread stitching, and see how flat it is? No puckering, no buckling. It embroiders like a dream. So you can also use sulky felty, and another new product alert. We have a brand new felty assortment at sulky.com. And if I could only find a photo of it, it is the felty holiday assortment. So many of you know that for a while now, we've had 3 assortment packs at sulky.com. We've got our rainbow felty assortment, our natural natural felty assortment, and also our heather felty assortment, which has kind of that mottled look to it. So now we've got our felty holiday assortment. Now these are on pre-order status, which means as soon as all of the felty comes in, because we're still waiting on a couple of colors since these are so great for the holidays, they're going fast. As soon as we can assemble all of these great holiday packs, we will ship them out to you. So make sure that you add this to your wish list and make sure to add it to your kit order, all of those things, because you're going to want this holiday pack. It's really great for these gift tags. It's really great for these holiday stockings. So with the holiday felty assortment, you get 2 sheets each of light red, dark red, light green, dark green, black, and white. Also, with your purchase, you will get a free set of applique templates you can use with the felty. There's a really cute little gnome. There's a Santa applique. There's some holly. There's a Santa hat. All kinds of great holiday motifs that you can use with your felty to create pillows. You can use your applique templates on the stockings. You can create more gift tag-esque projects, all kinds of things with those great applique templates. There are 10 templates in all, and that will be a free gift with purchase of the Felty Holiday Assortment. All right, Judy wants me to show the applique templates, and unfortunately, I did not load those images into our event today, so I apologize for that. I'll see what I can do if I can share those with you, but I will assure you they are adorable. I know it's hard to trust me when you can't see it. I apologize for not having the foresight to share that with you, but super, super cute. All right, I do want to mention, if you choose to grab up one of those Felty holiday assortments and you want to create this particular holiday or Advent stocking project, you're going to need a few packs of the holiday assortment. Or you can grab up some rolls of Sulky Felty. I used 4 rolls, but I have quite a bit left of each color. But I wanted to use the light green, light red, and dark red to create my banner. Alternatively, you could go with 1 or 2 colors of Felty and just kind of alternate the colors. But I liked the look of all 4 of these colors. I think it would also look really pretty in like a white, a cream, and a beige. I'm seeing that a lot of places as the holiday decorations are coming out, places like Target, Michael's, even Hobby Lobby are doing a lot of white on white decorations for the holidays with like a wood farmhouse vibe. So that would bring sort of an elegance to your Advent stocking, garland or tree ornaments, or however you plan on using your garland. And as I mentioned, you don't have to create 25 stockings. That's only if you want to count down the days to Christmas. You could create a stocking garland that has 12 and do sort of a 12 days of Christmas vibe with your garland. And again, you don't have to use it as a garland, but notice that my stockings are hanging on this wool felt garland. It's a little bit wonky. I feel like it's drooping in areas. As I said, I was a little winded trying to decorate a little bit for you all today so that you could see my sample. But at any rate, it's on this really cute felted wool garland. And I happened to be at Trader Joe's yesterday, one of my favorite stores, by the way, and they have these really great felt garlands. I may have gotten this one there last year. I'm not even sure. But it was perfect for hanging these because your felty stockings sort of stick in place along the garland. So as you see, even though it's hanging, the stockings aren't like sliding into each other. They were methodically placed at one point, and then, I had to rush to get it hung up for you all. But they're super cute, and at my Trader Joe's, they came in 3 different colorways. So you could get this cream white on white look felt garland. There was also a blue one that would be great for Hanukkah decorating or just winter decorating. Or if you want to go with a blue color scheme for your Christmas decor, I think that's also a really pretty way to go. They even have like blue flocked or flecked, I guess it's flocked, trees and little mini ones at the Hobby Lobby. You know what? Everybody's already in the Christmas spirit, the holiday spirit, the Hanukkah spirit. I just love it. It's like as soon as Halloween ends, we're just, boom, we switch right over and the holiday music begins. Am I right? At any rate, the blue one is really pretty. And then they also have a red and gray, and it might have green in it too. So if you're interested in those garlands to hang your stockings, I think they just work really, really well. You could string this up on your fireplace mantle, or you can use them as ornaments on a Christmas tree. And it's really fun if, you've got little kids or kids of any age and they want to go searching for the correct number for the day of December, and they find it somewhere on the tree. That's half of the fun, is searching for it in the morning or afternoon or what have you. And then there's a little treat inside, a candy cane, a little craft kit, something like that, to kind of keep them busy, especially when it comes to winter break and they need something creative to do to pass the time when they're not at school. So you all get the idea, and I'm going to go through the tutorial here momentarily. All right, so here's what our free pattern looks like at sulky.com. I linked directly to it in the description of today's post, so you can click on that little see more button of the description. It'll pop out. You'll find links for everything I'm talking about today. And what you need to do is add this free pattern to your cart and go through the whole checkout process, even though it says $0. And once you do that, this pattern will be added to your Sulky account at sulky.com. And then you can download it from there, view it on your screen, print the pages that you want, and then it will live in your Sulky account. So if you lose it on your computer, can't find it, you can always download it again from your Sulky account. And all of your free patterns and paid patterns and machine embroidery designs, all those good things that you grab at sulky.com, live there in your order history. So I think that's a great bonus. I can't tell you how many times I lose embroidery designs, but I really mostly forget what I call them after I download them. So there you go. But this will live in your Sulky account, and you're going to want to at least print your applique page and your stocking template, which are the last pages of this pattern, because that's what we're going to use, obviously, to cut out all of our stockings and to cut out all of our numbers. Now, you can certainly embellish these in different ways as well. You don't have to use the numbers. You can put somebody's initial on there. Use your word processing program if you use Word or what have you. Find a font that you like that's got big block letters and print out a letter of someone's first name. That would look really cute on a place setting at your holiday table. Put your little mini stocking, put the silverware inside, and then have the person's monogram or first initial of their first name, and they know where they're sitting for the meal. And then they have a keepsake gift that they can go home with and put on their Christmas tree, or, save for the next year. Use it as a gift tag. You get the idea. All right. Linda says, I do a scavenger hunt to do the countdown. Adorable. Love that idea. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how to create these stockings. Again, they come together so quickly and easily. You could get the kids involved in the project as well, and even have them sew them together by hand, and even do the applique stitching by hand. Teach them a blanket stitch or a back stitch, and they can sew on the numbers or the letters or however you are using the stockings. They can even sew the outer edge of the stocking using some big hand stitches. That's the great thing about this felty, is it's so easy to sew, whether you're doing it by machine or by hand. But I'm going to go through the tutorial using my sewing machine, and you get the idea of how to sew them together by hand. In the same way, you're just not using the machine, right? All right, so here we go. We're going to need our felty. We are going to need Sulky Perfect Applique Fusible Web. That's the other great thing about this felty. It's 100% polyester, which means you can wash it, you can fuse it, you can embroider it. You get the idea. All right, so let's see. Where am I at here? We're going to start by transferring our stocking pattern to our felty, whichever colors you decide are right for your holiday decor. So you definitely want to note that for each stocking, we need a front and a back. So you'll need to reverse the pattern so that you have one front and one back for each stocking you are creating. It might be helpful to write like F and B for front and back on each stocking so that you're sure that you have a front and back for each one. Now, with this particular felty, the right side looks very similar to the wrong side. So, I mean, you really just need to pick one side as your right side. I mean, to my eye, they look exactly the same. So if you happen to, transfer all the stockings without even mirroring them, then once you turn it around, it's not going to make that much of a difference, if at all, anyways. But just for best practices, and if you happen to be using a different fabric for this, you want a front and a back, so mirror image your stocking to create your back. I just used a chalk pencil to outline onto the felty. Super simple. And save your scraps. So notice how I have a border kind of along the top edge of my stockings. I'm going to use that felty for my hanging loops. So reserve all of that. Don't throw it out. We're definitely going to keep using it for the stocking. Then we're going to transfer our number appliques or your name appliques or whatever you want to use to embellish your stockings. You might want to use those really cute holiday templates that come with purchase of your holiday felty assortment. That's up to you, but you want to transfer that to the paper side of the Perfect Applique Fusible Web. And just like with our felty back stocking piece, we want to be transferring the mirror image of whatever our applique will be. So notice my numbers are the mirror image because we're going to fuse our perfect applique to the back of some more felty. And then when we apply it to our stocking pieces, it will be right side up. So in your pattern, the number template page is already mirror imaged for you. So that makes it really easy to transfer to your Perfect Applique Fusible Web. All right. Now we're going to cut apart our numbers. And I should mention, you will get the numbers 0 through 9. So you will need to transfer all the numbers you want to create several times. For example, when you need the number 21, you are going to transfer the 2 and the 1 again. Everybody understands this. Okay. So once you have all of your numbers transferred to the wrong side or the paper side of your Perfect Applique Fusible Web, we're going to apply each one to each color that we're using for our appliques. This is another great reason to save all those felty scraps after we have outlined all of the stockings that we're going to need, because all those little scraps are perfect for all of our little numbers as well. So notice my number 1 is the mirror image. It's on the wrong side, or the side we've chosen as the wrong side of our felty. And we're going to fuse those to our felty scraps. And then we're going to cut out all the numbers that we need. So you will notice that not only did I use 4 different colors of felty for all the stockings, but I used 4 different colors of felty for my appliques. And then I just kind of traded off for each one so that they all look a little bit different. I don't have 2 colors right next to each other along my, countdown. So that's totally up to you as well as far as which colors you want to use where on what stockings. All right. So after we've cut out all of our numbers, you're going to pair each number with each stocking color that you have. So what I did to stay organized, since I made 25 stockings, I put them in stacks of colors. So I had a front and back of all the light greens, front and back of all the dark greens, light reds and dark reds. You get the idea. So I had these stacks of stockings. And then when I had all my numbers, I would pair them with a particular stocking set. So for example, for my number 1, you can tell I used the light green felty for that stocking and a red number 1 applique number. So then I started just making little piles of each color paired with each color. Does that make sense? Each color applique paired with each color stocking. Then you're going to remove the paper backing of your appliques and center them on the front of each stocking pair. Then we can fuse everything. This is how you kind of do this assembly line style to make it a little bit more manageable for you, because it can be daunting when you're looking at 25 sets of stockings, okay? But as I mentioned, it's all about staying organized and just doing each thing all at once so that you're looking at everything in front of you, and then you can manage it and do it assembly line style. All right, so we're going to remove the perfect applique. We're going to center our appliques on the stocking fronts, and then we're going to fuse them in place just with a medium temp iron. And as I mentioned, the felty is fusible. It takes the heat from the iron very well without, transferring any iron marks. You just really want to make sure that your iron is low to medium temp. We never really need our iron super hot when we are using fusible web, because we just want it hot enough for that fusible web to sort of react and I guess sort of melt a little bit so that those fibers become one. And I love how the felty applique kind of pops off of the felty background fabric. It just gives it another little dimension as well. All right, so here I am fusing the number in place. And you'll notice for the numbers where we have 2 numbers, 11 through 25 or 10 through 25, I sort of offset the numbers a little bit so that they wouldn't go into the seam allowance. They're just a little bit too big to be side by side, but I think it looks pretty cute to have them offset a little bit just so they fit along that center sort of portion of each stocking. All right, so we're going to fuse our numbers in place all at once, and then we're going to do our applique stitching all at once. So after I fused everything, then I put everything in piles of red appliques and green appliques. That way I could do all of my red stitching at once, then switch out my thread and do all of my green stitching at once. And rather than choosing a thread that was light red or dark red, light green or dark green, I decided to go with my sulky blendables. I knew it was right next to me. All right. So for the reds, I went with this pretty shade of blendables, and you can see it has lots of different red colors running through it. This thread's actually called red work, right? I know, perfect. So I could use this thread for both the light red and the dark red appliques. And it has this it's randomly dyed every 2.5 to 5 inches across the thread length. So you get these beautiful red shades randomly across your applique. So since I'm working with a no fray fabric here, it's our nice polyester stable felty, I just went with a straight stitch and stitched just inside of my applique edges. Now, you can go crazy here. Choose a decorative stitch. Choose a blanket stitch on your machine. Or you could also sew these on by hand, as I mentioned. Now, if you're sewing them by hand, you might want to go with a little bit thicker thread. You could go with our 12-weight Cotton Petites blendables. Those come in the same colors that we have for our 30-weight blendables, excuse me, which is what I used in the machine, was the 30 weight cotton blendables. But when you're sewing by hand, you can go with a thicker thread that will have great coverage and you'll really see that stitching pop. So Noreen says, what size needle do you use with the 30 weight thread? Great question. Thanks for reminding me. So for the 30 weight thread for these appliques, I used a 90-14 needle. And you could use a universal needle here because the felty is so nice and, let's see, like it will take a little bit thicker pointed needle like a universal. Or you could go with a top stitch needle, which is going to give you a much more pointier point. I know. Sometimes I say these things and I'm laughing already before it comes out of my mouth. You get the idea. A sharper point to that needle. So either one of those will work for this, but a size 90-14 for the 30 weight thread. If you wanted to try using a 12 weight thread in your machine, you definitely can, but you want to go up to a size 100 needle. A 116 will accommodate the thickness of that 12 weight thread. So you certainly could do that for these appliques, especially if you're going to be using a blanket stitch. That's going to look really pretty and pronounced with that thicker thread. Now for the green appliques, I went with this blendable. And it has kind of blues and greens and dark greens and light greens. And it worked so well for both shades of the green felty. And I linked to those threads inside of that pattern as well. So if you're interested in the same ones, you can grab those relatively easily after you get your pattern. So as mentioned, you can stitch all of your appliques on by machine or stitch them by hand. You can also construct the stocking by machine or by hand as well. So once you have finished all the applique stitching, there's how it looks with the blendables thread. It's pretty subtle with the 30 weight thread because of the thickness and the sort of textured look of the felty, but I think it still looks really great and pronounced, especially more so in person than in sort of my shady, shadowy photograph here. Denise says sparkly thread might look nice on the outline too. That is a great idea. You know, our sulky poly sparkle thread, which we're also using in the webcast today for some of our gift tag stitching, the gold stitching on our designs is done in poly sparkle thread. Poly sparkle is a polyester thread with flecks of metallic running through it. It's also a 30 weight thread, much, like our 30 weight cotton blendables I'm showing here. So you would use that 90-14 needle with it as well, and it would give a nice sparkle and sheen to your finished stockings. So if you go with that white on white look for your stockings and you choose a white and off-white and like a beige or tan felty, I mean, just thinking about that would look so, so pretty. You could go with the gold poly sparkle. It's called gold with gold flecks for all of your appliques, and that would look so pretty. The more I'm talking about it, the more I want to make one. For at least a few stockings, that would look really pretty on a more elegant kind of holiday table as well. If you have you bring out your white china and your gold flatware, that would make your place settings look really pretty. Stick your flatware inside and have that on the plate. Oh, I'm loving this idea. Okay, thank you for it. All right, so now that all of our fronts have been appliqued, we're going to set those aside and we're going to work on our back stocking pieces. Now, throughout the whole assembly of this, I still kept all of my stocking pairs together. I know I just said set them aside, but I think just mentally set them aside because it's still really helpful to keep them as pairs as you move along with the process. But now we're going to work with the back pieces because we need to attach our little hanging loops. And that's the other great thing about the felty is since it's no fray, it, has minimal, if any, stretch to it at all. We can use it for these hanging loops as well, and everything is tied together nicely. I chose to use the same exact color for my hanging loops that I did for my stocking pieces, but you could certainly change it up. And if you want to use a decorative ribbon for all of your hanging loops, you could do that as well. So for my hanging loops, you want to cut your hanging loop strip according to the pattern, fold it in half, and then we're going to pin the short ends about a 1/2 inch from that outer edge of our back stocking piece. So see how I've just pinned it in place, and I placed my pin very near the end, or that, straight upper edge of the back stocking piece. And that is so that I can stitch right next to my pin without having to remove it. And you want to do this very carefully because obviously we do not want our needle hitting our pin at all. Drastic, right? But when we are stitching all these layers together, you may find the need to lessen your presser foot pressure. If you don't have a machine that accommodates for thread thicknesses and kind of, can sense or know when you're stitching through really dense or thicker areas, you might want to lessen that pressure a little bit because we don't want our presser foot to smush the layers down and then cause them to shift while we're sewing. It's maybe 4 or 5 stitches across to secure that hanging loop. And we want to make sure everything's together and doesn't slip. So keeping that pin in place while we're sewing right next to it, I found to be the best way to prevent that from happening, in addition to easing up on the presser foot pressure a little bit. So see how my stitches are right next to where that pin is, and then I can sew over it a couple of times just for some reinforcement and then remove that pin. So really do this carefully. I don't typically ever recommend that we keep pins in while we're sewing, especially when they are oriented this way while we're sewing. But if you're very careful, you can sew right next to it, keeping all of your layers in place without shifting. All right, so we're going to do that with every single back stocking piece so that our hanging loops are now attached. And again, the other beautiful thing is we don't have to turn in those raw edges of our hanging loops. They're going to be concealed by our stocking fronts. And if you stitch over that area twice, that's the reinforcement that you need to keep your hanging loop in place. So also, you can still use that 30 weight thread to attach your hanging loop. But I switched to sulky 50 weight cotton thread so that I had a little bit, I don't know how to say, like stronger seam for my hanging loop and for the stocking itself. But, this is kind of a crafty project. So depending on how your stocking's going to be used or how it's going to be kind of the wear on it over time, you can get away with using that 30 weight thread that you used for your applique for the rest of the stitching as well. But I do recommend in the pattern to switch to 50 weight cotton thread for a stronger construction seam. If you are doing this by hand, working with some littles, making it a craft project over winter break, you can do some back stitches to secure your hanging loop. I would stitch over that 2 or 3 times using the 12 weight or 30 weight cotton thread. And then for our perimeter stitching for the stocking, you can do a back stitch for that as well. And just kind of try to keep your stitches a little bit shorter than you would for, let's say, I'm trying to think of the projects where you use those big fat stitches. Sometimes kids will use really long stitches when they're first learning, hand sewing. So you might want to plot out the stitching lines so that they have dots they can follow along to do their back stitches. And that way it'll be a little bit more secure and your pocket will hold a lot more goodies without kind of popping open along the seams. All right. Let's see. Catherine says, would you suggest using a walking foot? You certainly could for attaching your little hanging loops, and see how that works for you. It should. In theory, a walking foot allows you, or the top of the foot kind of attaches on to the top of the fabric, and it moves the fabric through while your feed dogs are moving the lower fabric. So all the layers feed through at the same rate, but you're still going to have the loop that's between, right? That your walking foot isn't attaching to. So I would still use that pin method and, just kind of see how it works. Also, if you're making 25 of these, you have plenty of room for practice. So you can try a walking foot and see how that works for you. And maybe you don't need the pin when you're doing that method. But again, it's about 4 or 5 stitches across, and we're just stitching that twice. So I find you can get pretty accurate with just a pin, or you could also try using our new Sulky turning tool. This is kind of a multi-purpose turning tool. You can use it to turn little items like little fabric tubes and things of that nature. It's also really great for running along seam lines, making sure they're nice and flat after you've turned them right side out. But this particular small end, this gets into some really tight corners and pokes them out without, poking through your stitches. But I also love to use it as a stiletto at my sewing machine. So if that pin makes you a little nervous, you can place this stiletto along your layers when you're adding that hanging loop, and that can help you feed that hanging loop under the presser foot while you're kind of holding it there so it doesn't slip out of place when you're sewing it. So if you're unfamiliar with this, I think I started talking about it for the first time last week, but this is a relatively inexpensive notion that's really going to be on your must-have wish list for the holidays or for right now, because you're probably going to want to use it for some of your holiday gift making and things of that nature. It's only about $10 at sulky.com. And you can see it's a Sulky tool. So I absolutely love it. I use it for so many things. I have 2 because I have a problem, but you're my support group. So thank you for supporting my sewing addiction. But at any rate, I like to have one at my pressing station, and I like to have one at my sewing machine so that I can use it as a stiletto. And then if I'm ever ironing something like these little appliques where I don't want them to shift when I'm fusing it, but I don't want to get my fingers that close to the tip of the iron, you can also use this and kind of place it on top of your applique when you're doing the fusing, and then just remove it after you have it in place. So this is a really great tool for loads of things. And thank you for that great comment. Joanne says, I want one. Looks like a very handy tool. Hey, Deb, is there a ballpoint on the fine end? Yes, there is. So this little fine end, see, has this little ball point to it. This end's really tiny. And then this end has this kind of contoured end where one side is a little bit pointed and the other side is just round. And then of course you have the tip, which is, even larger in diameter. See that? So when you are, after you've turned something right side out, you can, I'm trying to find something here. Okay, just pretend that I've turned this right side out. You can stick this in here and run that edge along your seam line and make sure that it's nice and flat against the stitches. So really great tool to have. All right. I digress. All right. Betsy says, I need to get that handy tool. Yes, and great for turning out corners if you're working with pockets or pillows. Yeah, it's really great. And, I like that it has all these different tip, options to it. So you can turn it and use it in all kinds of different ways. All right, so back to our stockings. We've got our hanging loop that has been stitched to the back stocking, and now we're going to put our front stocking that has our stitched applique on it onto our back stocking so that the wrong sides are facing. And once we have done that, we are going to sew the curved edge of our stocking, keeping that upper edge open. And you can see I've gotten pretty close to the hanging edge with my stitches, but I'm right next to it here. So now you can leave your stocking as is with your seam allowance as is, but I love to add a little decorative edge. I have this really great pair of wavy edge scissors. You can also use pinking shears. You can also find replacement rotary blades that have a pinked edge, a wavy edge. Sometimes there's a scalloped edge that you can also purchase. And you can just go along your stocking with your rotary blade and it creates this really cool edge. Or you can find scissors like these wherever you like to buy your scissors. Okay, Havel's has some great options for pinking shears, but you can find these readily available as well. I linked to a couple within the pattern itself as well, so you can find this. All right, if you don't have one already. Or break out your grandmother's pinking shears. I still have mine. I mean, aren't heirloom scissors the best kind of scissors to have? And give this a cute little decorative edge. Now, the other option is to create a more narrow seam allowance on your stocking. And before you stitch it, you can insert a little bit of rickrack along that edge of the stocking. Just sandwich it between your front stocking and back stocking, and then sew it in place so that the little rickrack edge is poking out. And that would be absolutely adorable. You could also even try to use some mini pom-pom fringe and achieve the same look. But we don't want our seam allowance too fat so that we aren't really seeing the edge of the trim. So you're going to want to accommodate for that by stitching really close to the outer edge of your stocking. You could even do a blanket stitch along that outer edge if you're sewing it by hand as well. All right. So here's what it looks like with our cute little scalloped edge. I think this really just takes our stocking to a different level. You know, it just makes it look so cute, and it was so easy to do with those specialty scissors. All right. And it's just that simple. I mean, I won't say it's quick because we're making 25 of these, but as I mentioned, you could scale it down and make 12. If you're having a dinner party of 6 for the holidays, make 6 and make them as little place cards. And instead of the numbers, you can put somebody's, letter of their first name, or you can use one of our very cute, adorable holiday applique templates and put that on the top or on the front of your stocking, like a little Santa face or a snowman applique or some holly or something like this. You could even use a machine embroidery design. And as I'm talking about this, it would be really adorable to add one of our little cute gift tag designs to the front of the stocking. So what you would do in this case, if you wanted to repurpose your In the Hoop gift tag designs, is you would advance the machine to skip your outline stitching that stitches the outline of your gift tag and only stitch the gift tag motif onto your stocking fabric. Then, and I would use the small design for this. Not the large one isn't going to fit on your mini stockings, but then after embroidery, you would use your stocking template to cut out your stocking front, and it would have this beautiful embroidery design on it. why didn't I think of that until now? See, this is why we come together on So What and we get all these great ideas from each other. All right, so here it is hanging on my mantle on that cute white felt garland. It looks much better in this picture than it does hanging behind me. It's a little bit droopy. It's hard decorating by yourself. Sometimes you need another eye, right? Or at least a hand to hold part of the garland up while you are trying to get it to look even. All right. Let's see. Stockings would look cute in a Christmas basket. Yes, they would. They would make really cute little individual gifts as well. You could pack them full of things like a hot cocoa mix or a hot cocoa spoon and a little candy cane stirrer, and give this as a gift for teachers, neighbors, people part of your, card groups or friend groups. And everybody gets a little stocking full of something that is personal to them. Maybe it's a bunch of, face masks or a bath bomb or something like this. And then somebody else gets a couple of different teas. So, you could really personalize them that way and use them as sort of gift wrapping too. They are rather small, but surprisingly, they will fit a bunch of cute things. So the stocking could hold silverware. Exactly. You could put your silverware in there, put them on your, at each place setting at your holiday table, and then everybody gets to take it home and use it as an ornament or use it in the coming years for the holidays. So really cute idea. Let's see. Scalloped edge adds to the stocking. I agree. Would different card crafting scissors be okay to use? I would just test it on a little scrap of Felty, like whether you get the Felty sheets in the new Felty holiday assortment or if you get some Felty rolls. Just along the cut edge of one roll, try out that scissor and see how it works. Felty is a little bit more forgiving than, let's say, your fabric. So you might be able to get away with those other types of scissors, but definitely test it before you go cutting through, the double layer of Felty, just to make sure it's going to work how you want it to. I do love some pinking shears. Me too, Anita. Can you get pinking shears sharpened? You know what? This is not the first time someone has asked me this, and I remember saying last time that I was going to find out. I would just call, sometimes your local fabric store will have days where they have scissor sharpenings. So I would just call them and see, hey, can I bring in pinking shears? I don't know how they would do it, but maybe they have a way. And I hope so. I seriously do promise you that I have my grandmother's pair of pinking shears, and I have had to oil them before, on the little screw. So I've oiled them and cleaned them, and they still work great. But yeah, when I first sort of inherited them, I had to clean them up. They were a little bit rusty. I got them cleaned. I oiled them up, and because I couldn't even open them, right? And now they still work great. So, I don't even know how old they are. Are they 80 years old? Something like this. I don't even know when she acquired them, but she is no longer with us, but her pinking shears are. So, love that. All right. Link to the tool, please. Yes, I'm sorry. I did not anticipate talking about this tool today, but I should have known it would come up because it's like my new favorite thing that is right next to me. So we will put a link in the comments for the sulky turning tool. You can also go to sulky.com and just search turning tool and it should come up for you as well. I know that's not as ideal as having it right there for you, so I apologize. I'm just going to put that in the featured products area of every description now because I know I'm always going to talk about it. All right. Hopefully I'm all caught up on... Oh, Elaine, thank you so much. She says at Joann's, Joann's has someone and I had mine sharpened there. So I assume you're talking about those pinking shears. So that's great info. But Eva says, I was told no for sharpening pinking shears. So I guess Elaine says, I put the turner on my wish list along with the Felty assortment. Great idea. Tina says, at our local quilt show, we have had a knife sharpener. Yeah, maybe talk to those guys and see if they're able to do it. You never know, and it can't hurt. Crystal says, I also have my grandmother's pinking shears. They are 100 years old. Give it up for some pinking shears. That's amazing. Love it. Oh, excuse me. I thought I turned off my phone. Apologies for that. Okay. What about using a decorative edge rotary cutter? Yes, precisely. They have pinking shear rotary cutter blades, wavy edge, scalloped edge. So it's all about making sure that the rotary blade replacements that you find that are these decorative ones coordinate with the size of rotary cutter that you have. And sometimes the brand matters as well, because some rotary cutters have different mechanisms that keep the blade in place. So you want to be sure to stick with the same brand. A lot of times things that are labeled universal sometimes are not always universal, and then we find out the hard way. So I would go with first your brand of rotary cutter website, and then you can kind of browse the different types of rotary blades that they have available for you. All right. Veronica says, I take pinking shears to the hardware store to get them sharpened. Great idea. Perfect. Thank you all for your tips on this. Love it. Susan says this is a great Christmas idea. Perfect. Oh, and Crystal, this is great. She says, if you have left-handed shears, especially pinking shears, make sure they can sharpen left-handed shears. I had a pair ruined when sharpened incorrectly. I would have never even thought of that. Great tip. Thank you so much. All right. Sharon says, I have my grandmother's pinking shears too, and they work great. I love that this is a trend that we are all sharing. Fantastic. All right. So thank you all for your comments, questions, for participating in today's So What, because I'm going to pick one person at random who has viewed this, who is sharing it out, liking the Facebook page, subscribing to our YouTube channel, all of those good things to be involved with So What. That's all you need to do in order to be automatically eligible to win today's special gift, which is our brand new Oregon Needles Essentials assortment, which includes a pack of all the needles that you see here, 5 packs of Essentials needles that we all need in our sewing room at any given time. So this will make sure that you are all stocked up for loads of holiday gift making, new holiday decor that we're all going to want to display this season, and all of those great things. So be sure that you are commenting, giving me those thumbs up, engaging with the post, and one of you will be the lucky winner of this brand new product at sulky.com. All right, I'm going to let everybody go today. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to head on over to sewingonline.sulky.com in about 1 hour, where we will be going through the Christmas gift tags webcast. I will show you how to create these beautiful gift tags in the hoop of your embroidery machine. And I also have a cross-stitch handwork version of these gift tags to show you as well, and a little bonus project thrown in. So we're going to learn lots of stuff here over at sewingonline.sulky.com. Make sure you are registered. Make sure that you have grabbed up your freebie design, and you will be that much closer to creating some beautiful things for the holiday season. So thanks again for joining me here on So What, and I'll see you next week, and I'll see you in about an hour as well. Have a good rest of your day.